I was I was listening the other day because there's going to be a big fight in December.
Oh,
Anthony Josh,
Joshua. Yeah, Anthony
yeah,
Joshua
Anthony
and the
Joshua
rematch.
and Ruiz. Came out that your boy Joshua was making $85 million guaranteed for win or lose, guaranteed for this fight, and whereas Andy Ruiz is making 13. This is a guy that was making wasn't even cracking 100,000 in his fights, Andy Ruiz. But once that life altering fight happened, stepping up at the biggest moments,
Hmm.
always being prepared. He took that fight on short notice. I think it was like 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks notice, 3 weeks notice for the fight. So he recently had a fight a month ahead or before that, the fight he had with Anthony Joshua, the first one. He won that fight by KO, and the guy Joshua was supposed to fight tested positive for PEDs. And you have to seize the moment in life. You see your goal and take it. Some people will say, you know what, I'm not ready. I want a full 8 week camp or
Hmm.
8 to 12 week camp to fight Anthony Joshua because he's the heavyweight champion of the world. Andrew Ruiz saw that moment and he seized it. So you got to respect that. And everyone saw him as the go-lucky, fat, chubby kid that's coming in just to take the loss. And he personified that. He was happy-go-lucky. So every time Anthony Joshua was there, he would try to hug Anthony Joshua. He would try to hold his. He would want to take a picture with the belts.
Yeah.
In his mind, no, I'm taking a picture because this is going to be mine come Saturday night. But he caught Anthony Joshua off guard. He thought, oh, this guy's a fan. This guy, there's no threat. He's fat. He's like 6'1". I'm 6'5", 6'6". He's out of shape. Oh, this is gonna be an easy win. He seized the moment, seizing the moment. And I
With
was looking.
on that subject of seizing the moment, I thought about this Will Smith actually on how he became the Fresh Prince of Bel Air and how he started on that. And I hope I'm not butchering this story, but it goes that he who's the producer? Famous guy. Was it Quincy?
Your boy, yeah, Quincy
Quincy
Jones.
Jones? Yeah. So he was at Quincy's house or a party or something, and Quincy Jones basically said, long story short, basically said, "Hey, this is your audition. Let's see what you can do right here and right now." And Will said, "Yeah, I wasn't prepared for this. I'm not ready." And then Quincy kind of took him to the side and said something along the lines of, "Well, you know what? This is probably the only opportunity that you'll ever have. So whenever someone just throws you an opportunity of a lifetime, just take it. You never know what's gonna happen. Just take it. Just go with it." And sure enough, he just did the audition right there, and the rest is history. And that was his first time acting, apparently.
Right. I think Will Smith put out a YouTube video on that. Yeah, that you gotta respect that. Seize the moment.
Absolutely, man.
You work a lifetime to get to where you are. You can't want everything to be ideal in those situations. Seize that moment. Put your best foot forward. And maybe you fail, but maybe you succeed.
Yep. And I think that's the thing. A lot of people are so worried and scared about what happens if they fail and how they look if they fail that they don't necessarily, and that just affects their confidence in as a whole, right? So even if they were even if they've done this before, and but because like you said, it wasn't the ideal situation, the ideal environment, that just throws everything off for them, and they come off as a newbie, or as if they just don't know what they're doing or what they're talking about, and they just completely bomb.
You know what's the biggest regret a person can have in life?
What's that?
Not trying.
Mm-hmm. That's
Not trying.
that's pretty good.
So, and you look back on your life and you say, I should have done this. I should have done that. Why did I not do it? Not seizing that moment. It's the biggest regret you could have. Name any failures or successes you. Well, let's keep it on failures. Name any failures you had. For most part, can you think to yourself that I regret that moment? And most people would say no. In hindsight, obviously during that moment, it's tumultuous and you just can't wait to get out of that fire.
Yeah.
But that fire is building callus. That callus is building strength.
And this is where school failed us. Because in school, when you fail a test, you're shunned. You're shunned for failing that test. And sometimes you may get to try again. Sometimes you may not get to try the test again. But in school, if you fail something, if you fail at something, it's as if the world is ending. The world is ending. Like that's the end all be all. But in reality, you're gonna fail at a lot of things, and that's basically your building blocks. Your failures are your building blocks to which you step on to reach success.
Fail, fail again, fail better. That's all life is. Trying things and failing better. Until once you actually do succeed.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can fail a lot, but one time you succeed, it just makes things that much easier.
There's an article I read. There was a study that was recently published. I forget by what school. But the headline of the article said, quote, failure found to be an essential prerequisite for success.
Well said.
Take that in. We need failure to build on our success. And the guy that really thinks hardly about this is Anthony Joshua. I was listening to this interview a couple of days ago where um, Anthony Joshua was funny. He had the battle. I'm just going on a tangent. He had the battle like look where he was normally he's like a pretty boy, but now he didn't shave, he didn't get a haircut, he's scruffy. He's putting that image out, and I think he's putting that out too. So Andy, it's all a chess match when you're in mental warfare when you're fighting. He wants to put that out to Ruiz that I'm taking this serious. I'm not really gonna brush up for this interview. Yeah. So during the interview, I I'm surprised that this happened, but I'm surprised he said this. But he said that he likes to listen to like a lot of motivational or inspirational videos, and he said every time it's all about this taking in the positive, taking in the positive, and every time it gets to like talking about people's their failures and all of that, and the inspiration behind that, he would fast forward. He would always fast forward.
Mhm.
He said, but now after because he's not a loser, he doesn't even want to put failure in his head. So that's why he would fast forward. But after he losing, now he said, let me take this in. He put it in a more eloquent way of this receiving more information and new information and just updating the software. Updating not only the hardware, the muscles, speed, but updating the software as well. Yeah, I found that very profound where I like the growth in his mental infrastructure. But he also said something, and like a mark I am, we're all marks when it comes to socialization and how we operate and how we just think instinctively. To make this short, he said, quote, and this triggered me, but I had to check myself. Why am I triggered? He said, quote, once I beat him, I want everyone to bow to me and tell me how great I am, unquote.
Mm.
So normally Joshua is the humble guy from tough beginnings. He's very buttoned down. He's very business oriented. He's all about his business. He's a brand. He's a brand.
Right.
There's a reason he's making 85 million for this fight, and he's been making 30 million plus each of his past 6 fights. He's a brand, but a lot of people don't like that about him because he doesn't really, for what we know, he doesn't really show his true self. He's always tries to come off in a good light.
Mm-hmm.
So the interviewer, who's British as well, so he knows Anthony Joshua. He says, "Wow, this is not like you. You normally put out the humble image." And Joshua replies by saying, "Quote: Take competition out of being humble. Being humble is being on a bus and getting up so a woman can take a seat." And when I really said that, I said, "Okay, I was a mark by getting triggered. I was a mark."
What do you mean by
And that's
that?
because I was caught. I was suckered like how most people would. by default get triggered. We hate when our public figures, our superstars, our celebrities don't act in a humble way.
Mm-hmm.
And that went to the whole concept of humble, being humble. And I love how you said take competition out of being humble. And why do we value, I don't know if we value it, but why do we prescribe our public figures to be humble? What's your thoughts on the whole concept of humble and public figures?
Well, when you're humble, it makes you seem more personable. It makes you seem like the nice guy, the person that, especially in us, if you're a celebrity, the person that will take every picture, the person that will always be in the good mood. So we want the celebrity, we want these people to be humbled because we want them to adhere to us. We like, again, if we go up to them for a picture, we want them to say yes. A humble person will say yes. If we ask them, if whatever, we a humble person will give us the time of day, and someone who isn't humble wouldn't be as accepting to the common person or the common folk, if you will. And not only that, we want those people, we want celebrities, we want anyone of a certain stature to be humble, because I think we mentioned this in a previous episode, but it's like it's as if the common person put that person there, like they helped elevate this person to this position, because if me as a common person didn't like you as much as I did, along with all these other common people who likes you as much as we did, you wouldn't be in that position. So you have to be humble. You have to be nice towards us. And that's why we want the humble person. And that actually begs the question, what's the line between arrogance and confidence? Because you can be humble and confident, but it's hard to look at someone who's humble and arrogant. So what's the line between arrogance and confidence? But answer that after you make the point that you were going to make. I know you had some things to say on the humble front.
Prince and the pauper. The prince has everything. There's no need to display publicly your riches. You're just rubbing it in our face. So be humble. So, as society, this is how we approach these things. So, there's no need to brag about how great you are or how much money you have. That's why when a guy like Mayweather flosses all of his riches, everyone's default go to mindset is, I want to see this guy get knocked out. Why is he flashing all of this material that I will never have a chance to attain in my life? They didn't answer the question that they're not good at any, or they don't have any attributes to provide to society. But yeah, that whole aspect of flossing, flogging your material aspects of life is looked down upon because the paupers don't have it. They don't have a chance to have it. You're a public servant, so to speak, where you represent the public, and they want to hide behind, oh, there's kids watching, and you're gonna socialize them in a negative way, and the whole aspect of you're a role model and act like a role model. I'm using this voice for a reason. Yeah. So
What
that's where the whole
what is
that's where the whole thing of
what is a role model supposed to act like?
be humble, be gracious, have, if we're talking about sports, have some etiquette, and what's the word they like to use where they shake hands after each game,
Sportsmanship.
have good sportsmanship. All of that ties into being humble. I think I don't think I agree with Anthony Joshua. Take humbleness out of sports. Humble in sports is I know of my mortality. If I'm a boxer, let's keep it to boxing and fighting. I know of my mortality. I know at in any given day I can lose.
Hmm.
I'm humble to the point that I know you have skills to dethrone me. My humbleness is waking up at 5 a.m. to run 5 miles and train 2 to 3 times a day. That's me being humble. I'm going to bring all of that humbleness in my training camp. And once I get in front of you, I have no respect for you because I'm going to break you down. But that humbleness brought me here to break you down. So in sports, there's no humbleness. In football or basketball, I train all off season. If I was not humble to the sport, because you have to be humble to your sport, because sports will give you a reality check. Like, what's buddy name? Carmelo Anthony. He was humbled because he was not humble. He was not humble to the fact that he's mortal, and mortals can ascend somewhere, but they can also descend as they
It's
age,
part of
all
life.
the time,
Yep.
undefeated. But he never got humbled along that journey. Being off that year humbled him. So in sports you have to be humble, humble to your mortality. Be grateful for your athleticism, because one day they may diminish. So get the most out of your athleticism and skills. So that's why you have to train as hard as you can. So if you want to take the easy route and don't train, we see those athletes out every day around the corner. There's this guy named Sean Kemp. There is a we know you know Sean Kemp,
Yeah, of
high
course I
flyer,
do.
right?
Yep.
Was it 1998? There was a lockout season where I think like 3 quarters of the season was wasted. I think they only played like 30 or 40 games, so half the season was wasted. And he came back 50
Out of
pounds
shape.
out of shape.
Yep.
He wasn't humble. I know this doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people because you guys probably didn't play sports. So this comparison of being humble in society and sports doesn't relate. But that's, I believe, Anthony Joshua's image of being humble in sports. Being humble outside of sports is not me being gracious enough to sign the 100th guy's autograph. Humble is a two-way street. If I'm eating in a restaurant with my wife and kids, and you come up to me, try to shake my hand, you're dirty with your dirty hands. Try to shake my hand, try to take a picture, and I'm talking to my wife, and you just oh no, Anthony Joshua, I'm such a fan of you. While I'm talking to my wife, being humble is not just making you slap me on both sides of my face by just saying, "I'm sorry, wife. Let me go to this stranger and say, oh, thank you for supporting me." No, that's I believe we misuse the word humble and humility to use it as some type of mental prison. So we have some leverage off of people that are and we hold in high regards. So all of these celebrities, if you're not humble, that's us tucking you down. You're ascending too high. Be humble. Bring you down. Bring you down. You get what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Holding
It's
you in check. Holding you in check by keeping you humble. And when we don't see you obliging by our little lasso,
we
we
try and break
beg.
you down.
We beg to the gods, sport gods or whatever, by breaking you down. So why? You be humbled. That's all I have on that for now.